Dr. Ripley, compassion.
Compassion. So one of my favorite things that I've learned about compassion is that the word compassion is heavily linked in Scripture to the story of the prodigal son. So we know in the story of the prodigal son, right? The son asks for the inheritance, is ungrateful for all that he's been given, asks for his inheritance, runs off, spends it on things that his father would not approve of, right? And are not good for him, ends up eating or wanting to eat in the food of the pigs. And then he ends up going back home. So while he was a long way off, the father sees him and has compassion on him and goes running, right? That word right there, compassion, is one of the most powerful words in Scripture and in Christian tradition. It's this sense of, I love you. It's very warm, right? It's a very emotion-filled word, right? It's not kind of a cold duty, well, he's my son, so I guess I should take him back. Oh, well, there's not like a duty. It's like I feel his pain, right? I see that he is just dragged through the ringer by this culture that he tried, and I love him, right? And I have that capacity for that compassion. It actually is from a Hebrew word too, and the Hebrew word for compassion, the one that is used for Yahweh, when Moses is meeting Yahweh, and Yahweh is described as being compassionate, that word is actually close to the word womb, right? So like a mother's womb, right? It's that kind of heartfelt, emotional, even visceral kind of response.
That bodily love.
Bodily love, exactly, that you get in family. And it's so unique to family, really. It's how a parent might feel for a child who's gone astray, but it also can be for spouses, too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How do you see compassion being exhibited or not exhibited just to people who are angry? Can you be compassionate as an angry person, or compassionate towards someone who is hurt or injured?
Yeah. One of the most interesting things that I've learned is that emotions have layers to them. And the top layer of anger is really obvious, right? You can see it, like, right? Yeah. Like the emotions, the facial expressions, the bodily expressions, the anger. But underneath most anger is a sense of pain, vulnerability, or hurt. Yeah. And I find it so much easier to be compassionate towards someone when I know that, and I know that that's true. And if someone is angry at me, there is some kind of pain going on inside there that's not being attended to, that's really scary maybe even to acknowledge that pain. And so I'm getting anger. And so maybe in the moment I might be like, I don't think so, a defensive
You're
response.
Not safe.
Yeah,
I don't get my nose poked.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, back up. No, stop that. But if you give me a minute, right, and with good practice, right, and there's nothing like being a counselor that helps with good practice, but in life we get good practice in being able to recognize, I think that what I'm facing here is needing compassion. It's pain. Right? And that pain, defense, offense cycle that's so natural to fall into. It's just part of the fallen nature. We're just going to end up in it. One of the things that can shatter it is a compassionate response to that pain.
Yeah. So it's like compassion, much like grace, has this capacity to like obstruct the emergence of that defense. Like compassion goes around it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But compassion may be motivated by a sense of grace, right? It can be, compassion is a gift, right? If someone's in pain, then they may or may not kind of deserve it, right? So you may get a pain that's like, I am really hurting. Can you please give me a hug, right? And then the compassion itself will more easily give that compassion. But it can also be a pain that's like, I'm really hurting. Will you leave me alone, right?
Yeah.
And a sense of compassion can be, I love you, I'll let you have your time alone. Yeah. And I look forward to talking later. You know, like I'm in relationship with you. I won't abandon you because you need to like regroup a little bit. That can be compassion too. So it can look in different ways, but it really is totally coinciding with grace for us to have that compassion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What other aspects of compassion are related to the pain defense model?
Yeah. I think one thing that can be really helpful is once you realize you're in that pain defense offense cycle, right? So maybe you don't realize it in the exact moment.
Yeah.
Not many people can pull that off, to be honest.
Right.
It's hard, right? And the person comes in and they like, pain, leave me alone, you know? And the other one's like, okay, whatever, I didn't want to talk to you anyway, you know? And there's a, you offended me, but okay. And then there's a pain defense kind of offense happening. But give it a minute, take a second, stop and think, and if you know, hey, you know, pain is gonna be behind that defense. Like I know that now. I can't unknow that. Right? I know that when you defend to me and you want to go off by yourself, that's your defense. You know when I say, I need you to listen to me and I need you to listen to me right now and I need you to go on and on and on about it and tell me everything about that. You know that there's pain behind that defense now, right? We can't unknow that. So once we know that, there can be a compassionate response. We can recognize in the moment, oh, you wanting time alone, that's pain, right? That's not you just trying to be offensive. And you can know her going on and on, right, and needing me to listen for a long time, that's pain. That's not just her defending, right, against that pain. And it makes it so much easier to be compassionate in that moment when you recognize it.
Yeah. It's kind of like, okay, I'm going psychological here. Jump into if I see you in that you're the agitated Jen right now. Yeah. And maybe because of something I did, maybe because the toilet overflowed and you spent the last 45 minutes cleaning up mess. Yeah. And you are just
it's a bad day.
And that bad day thing is you're just being run by your amygdala right now.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So, but everybody else doesn't know what that means.
Okay,
so if I explain that. Okay, what am I really seeing when I look at you compassionately and I see you in this amygdala-driven state versus I see you in a cerebral cortex-driven state. Like,
right. So if people have had biology or they remember back to their brain biology class in high school or college, they might remember those words. But really, we want to think about ourselves as having kind of two parts to it. One is the amygdala, which is essentially our emotion centers, and they are run kind of on automatic. And you can feel this. If you have a bad day, you can't just suddenly stop and tell it, no, let's make it a good day. Boom. Okay, done. No, people can't do that. Humans can't do that.
The brain doesn't switch like a light switch.
You cannot just go, I choose to stop having a bad day, right? And so that elephant is going to run, right? It's like an elephant, and it's going to run. And so understanding that about your partner and that they can't just make a decision with the front part of their brain or the top part of their brain, that they are a whole person and that God made us that way for good purpose, right? That we can handle so many things in life if we're not just these like brains on a stick with no emotion. That those emotions are also what bring love into our lives and attachment and all kinds of good things. So, but they can cause problems too at the same time. And so we have to understand that about our partner. Hey, what I'm dealing with right now is the amygdala part of you, right? It's like the elephant, you know, and it's like roaring through here. And so do you need some soothing? Do you need a hug? Do you need a warm beverage? Like, do I need to, you know, give you 10 minutes or an hour?
Walk around the block?
Do you need a walk? Yeah. Do you need me to listen? Like, do I have the capacity right now? Or the tough thing about marriage is sometimes two elephants butt heads because I've had a bad day and you've had a bad day and there's nobody in the room has the capacity for compassion, and it's
Yeah.
not going to happen
Yeah.
because you're so upset. You can't even do like the first step, which is to
Yeah.
recognize I'm dealing with somebody in pain right now,
Yeah.
right? That is in need of compassion, and that's the first step to compassion.
Yeah.
So if you're so upset with your own stuff, the best thing to do then is to just like let's let the elephants run around the block a few times without hitting each other. You know,
Yeah.
like let me go, you go. Let's like until the sorry to mix metaphors, but until the floodwaters come down.
Yeah.
Right. And once the floodwaters come down, and I feel like okay, I'm like my whole self again. I'm not just like a raging elephant anymore.
Yeah.
I can talk.
Yeah. It's kind of like
Mhm.
like I can see you're in your rage state,
Mhm.
and I can have compassion for your state, and you can say, "All right, I thank you for wanting to love me." That's a this front brain kind of decision, yes, but it's going to take the middle of my brain to catch up with the front of my brain, and it's going to take 15 minutes or 20 minutes before
Yeah.
that thing.
Or an hour.
When all
Mhm.
these emotions have a chance to just dissipate, all the neurotransmitters that just got fired off and put me here, like, so you can have compassion on not just this, but the whole process. This is going to take you a little while.
Right, and not need it right now.
Yeah.
Just be open to like, yeah, you've had a bad day. You're in pain. Okay, I'm open to that.
Yeah.
Right, and even to recognize in all normal human life, this is us. Like, there's nobody who doesn't have this happen. Everybody has this happen. And sometimes even people who've had a lot of bad life experiences or really difficult childhoods, it's harder to kind of get that elephant to calm down and like slow down and be able to work with all the parts of the brain and just recognize we don't all start with a level playing field here. And can we have compassion for that? Just like you might have on children who, some have just more capacity than others. And you love them all, right?
Yeah.
Can you have that with your spouse too?
Yeah.
It's hard, but it's a good thing.
Yeah.
And when you can do that, it is amazing what can happen in a married life.
How do spouses, if you were going to coach me and Heather around being able to exhibit greater compassion for one another, what would you be telling us?
Okay, so I would be telling you, first of all, to begin to notice it, right? Mm-hmm. When is it that your partner is in pain and is in need of a compassionate response? Can you recognize it? Can you think back in history? Did you see it this week, right? Can you consider that? Then the next thing is to be able to receive that pain is their pain, right? It can be really easy for us to kind of put our judgmental hat on and kind of say, well, you shouldn't have that pain. That shouldn't hurt you, right? It shouldn't be so hard for you. That's not loving or helpful. That's judgmental, right? And so can you say, hey, that was hard for you, right? It may not have been the same for me or for everybody in the world, but that was painful for you. There's your pain. And it's legitimate. Everyone's doing the best they can, right? Kind of receive that. And then finally, to try to respond in a connected way and try to connect with that pain and be compassionate towards that pain instead of fighting it and defending it.
So connect with the pain is not to, or is it to experience the pain itself? How does that connect with the pain mean?
Yeah, I think sometimes it can be because you're connected in a strong way. The us, right? The becoming us part. You're heavily connected, and our mirror neurons in our brains are going off, and we're really responding to each other if you're in a close relationship. So it can be hard. Like, oh, your pain is now my pain, right? My pain is now your pain.
Yeah.
But the reality is, you're never getting away from that anyway. That is part of being us. Is you are going to share the pain. But by sharing it and responding with compassion, you have the opportunity for two people to lift that pain together. Instead of being alone and lonely in your pain, you can really collaborate in it. And you may not always be able to do that. There may be moments that's not going to happen. There may be days when that can't happen because you're exhausted, because you just had a newborn baby, because you just had a death. Like, things happen where your capacity for compassion may go down. But to continue to practice it, to make it a goal, to make it a part of your vision of we as a couple, part of what it means to be us is that we will do all we can to respond to pain in each other
Yeah.
with compassionate responses whenever we can. And we will give each other grace when we can't be compassionate.
Yeah.
Mhm.
In Spanish, though, there's this phrase, I'll say it in English,
Mm.
a burden carried is a burden doubled. A burden
Mm.
shared is a burden halved.
Yeah, that's a great phrase. It just says it right there.